Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator, and in this video, we're going to talk about how your government they think of you as their piggy bank, and they're coming up with a new tax for you this semaphore. It's March 24th, 2023 article. It says the GOP's favorite carbon tax is carbon customs, because what they're thinking about doing, it says the U.S. Senate Republicans are warming to an idea to fight climate change that Democrats have been pushing for years: import taxes on high carbon industrial commodities. Yeah, they said they see a carbon border adjustment mechanism that's ripe for bipartisan cooperation, and a plan to introduce new Republican draft legislation soon. But the devil's in the details. The senators are divided between and within party lines over how a CBAM would work, what it costs, and if any, it would impose on American companies. And that CBAM is the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. So that's a nice way of saying tariffs on imports. Well, they call it here is a fee applied to certain imports, which would include steel, iron, fossil fuels, or others, pegged to the carbon emissions associated with their production in their country of origin. From a climate point of view, it aims to prevent carbon leakage, whereby a country essentially offshores its most carbon intensive industries, reducing its own carbon emissions, but not those for the world overall. It also protects domestic companies that face higher production costs due to climate policy, and in principle leverages the lure of the U.S. market to force other nations to cut their CO2 emissions. Well, you know how you could do that without any tyranny like carbon taxes? And what are these taxes going to be used for? To what? Pay debt? Pay for more illegals to come here? I don't know. But these same leaders that are proposing that you Americans just have way too much money and that they should, and apply another tax to you, or two taxes, because they're also talking about a carbon tax which would be applied domestically, and now they want this import tax, so everything that's imported will have this tax on it, which you the consumer end up paying. Okay, but if we just got involved with actual real solutions since November 93, none of this talk would be happening, because we would have already solved this problem. See, right here it says the polluter pays. So, the polluting company's gonna pay, but that's not true, because the that company's price for their products that gets sent down to the consumers is a total of all of their costs, okay? Which includes whatever taxes they have to pay. So the polluter doesn't pay, people pay. But they say, oh, in textbook economics, because, yeah, well, the world works like a textbook. In the European Union's version of the policy introduced last year, a CBAM only makes sense if domestic companies are also paying a price for the carbon they emit. Otherwise, such a policy would be unfairly protectionist and face legal challenges in the World Trade Organization. If the U.S. doesn't have a federal carbon tax, well, no, not if. The U.S. doesn't have a federal carbon tax, so it's not clear what a CBM AM would be pegged to. The range of views in Washington on this question stem from lack of coherence on what a CBM is meant to achieve. And, Washington shouldn't be even talking about this. Are they talking about our currency collapsing debt? No, no. All Washington is doing is just spending more money. Okay, but and none of them have any interest in actual real solutions. As Ronald Reagan said, the government is the problem. But last year, CBAM legislation was introduced by Democrat Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, who I can assure you I contacted his office from the first time I heard him out there yapping environmentally. And he, like everyone else, never even responds back like, wait a sec, you actually have solutions that we could actually implement and we could see real betterment right now, as opposed to way far in the future after we tax Americans into poverty more. Okay. But the legislation he introduced would impose a limited carbon tax on companies in the fossil fuel, petrochemical, fertilizer, iron, steel, and aluminum sectors based on whether emissions exceeded a sectorial benchmark. Pairing domestic and import carbon taxes is an idea backed by, Mitt Romney, who told the Semaphore, whose article this is, that carbon pricing is the only real way that you can affect global emissions. No, it's not. What you do is you get people environmentally literate. You gain their cooperation. We end our disposable society and we start using hemp. And then none of this would be happening. Okay, are they talking about green carbon taxes on just beyond irresponsible disposable products? No, I mean, unless you want to, talk about it that it's going to the fossil fuel and petrochemicals, because they're a big part of the plastic industry. That, whoa, what would replace the plastic industry? Oh, I know. Oh, that's right. Hemp. But no one will allow it. But another national public servant. Now remember, these people, congressman, representative, senator, really impressive titles when their title is national public servant. They're there to serve you, not to tax you into poverty for things that they won't allow real solutions that wouldn't require these taxes for. Okay, but a separate legislation was introduced in 21 by Chris Coons, a Democrat, and he takes a different tack, requiring federal agencies to calculate the cost of U.S. companies to comply with federal and state climate regulations and use that figure to benchmark the CBAM against. Okay, but this should not even be a discussion. And this paragraph here says that the people that are the senators, the public servants that are leading the drafting of the bill, Lindsey Graham, Kevin Cramer, and Bill Cassidy, seem to agree that no new domestic tax is needed. No, neither is this CBAM. But they do support some form of a CBAM as long as it doesn't become a domestic energy tax, Cramer told Semaphore. And Cramer being the Kevin Cramer from North Dakota, who's doing this bill. And right up there in North Dakota, they wouldn't want an energy tax. No one does. None of these taxes are needed. And what are they going to spend this money on? Oh, probably more illegals. So Noah Kaufman, who worked on carbon pricing in the White House during, I guess, Barack's first two occupations, because he's running the White House right now, he says that at least at the federal level, we don't have any meaningful climate regulations that impose cost on domestic producers, and we shouldn't. And what Barack didn't have in his White House, while he had someone that was titled what? Oh, a climate economist who worked on carbon pricing. That's what Barack was working on, while Barack was absolutely, positively refusing to give you real solutions since his first presidential campaign. And he's so adamantly opposed to solutions that I've done videos before. His Secretary of Energy in a question and answer session had me kidnapped and taken away into another back room where I was held by his security, local law enforcement, and Max Baucus's national public servant, Montana Senator Max Baucus, top security, because I was about to say to Steven, I send you the Grand Slam you said you look for every day. Okay. And that was 24 hours after in the question and answer session to Microsoft CEO, what's his name? Steve Ballmer. And he had the audience applaud me. And 24 hours later, Barack's Secretary of Energy had me kidnapped and held until he got off stage so that he didn't even have to answer the question like solutions. No, no, no. And Barack used to turn on my computer in the middle of the night, just like reporter Cheryl Atkinson. So while Barack, and his newest White House occupation, still will not allow solutions that would achieve and but he was working on carbon pricing. Okay, these people are not working for you. So this Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, who's introducing this legislation, he says here that his goal was to use a foreign pollution fee to address national security issues and level the playing field with China. So, yeah, I don't know. It's all absolutely ridiculous. The last thing Americans need is another tax. Americans who can't even afford to buy food these days, especially while everyone in DC and all environmental voices won't allow actual real solutions. And why does this continue? Oh, that's right, because all the press, including Project Veritas and James O'Keefe and Alex Jones and all of the independent media, Rebel News, Alex Newman, Greg Hunter, Tracy Beans at Uncover DC, Dan Press for Truth, on and on, on and on and on. They will not give you good environmental information because they're just too busy saying global warming's not real, man. So we can do whatever we want. They're just fools. Even though Alex Jones says he's about a sustainable future, he won't give you the information to get you there. And instead, what are your national public servants that are in business to help you to actually make your lives better? Actually, they're just there to ensure the Constitution. Oh, that's right. They're using you because you're their money. And now they want to impose two new taxes on you, a carbon tax and a carbon customs tax. So, yeah, in case you got money lying around, spend it, because your government doesn't want you to have it for long. And if you don't have money lying around, they just want to squeeze more out of you and make life more difficult. So stay tuned, people.